All right, y'all. Get started. Let y'all get back to y'all day. First thing I want to go over is first thing I want to go over is what I was talking about last week and what I mentioned Sunday night about the documents that are in form simplicity and the listing agreement. I got form simplicity right here. And I want to show y'all the difference between the two listing agreements. And I went over, I just want to show y'all where they at. There's so much stuff in here that y'all are paying for. You just got to take the time to go through the MLS and form simplicity and different things like that. I'm telling you, to make your life a whole lot easier. Uh, Once you know this stuff, I'm gonna go to blank forms and form simplicity, and I'm gonna go down to the listing agreement. All right, we got the buyer's brokerage agreement. We're gonna go over that too, as far as the contracts and stuff like that. I may do that one next week. But you got right here, you got the exclusive right of sale listing agreement, single agent. So that's the one I went over last week that Alicia brought to my attention about it being easier to go to this second one, which is exclusive right of sale listing agreement, consent to transaction, the transaction broker. Now, you know, as a single agent, you're operating as the only agent on a transaction. But if you are planning on representing both buyers and sellers, which doesn't happen often, but it happens, they call it a birthday blessing for you. And then you got the exclusive right of sale listing agreement to no brokerage. And then you got the exclusive right of sale listing agreement transaction broker, ERS 21TB. So as you can see, the dates, once again, they update these things a lot. So you want to look at the dates of the most current ones to be able to use for your specific listing agreement or buyer's agreement or whatever to see when the last time. Look, you got the exclusive right to lease listing agreement. So it's a lot of listing agreements on here. And once again, the single agent one is the one that I went over with you guys, which is honestly mostly has the same verbiage. There really is no difference, too much of a difference. Let me see something. I don't know why it's coming up. It's just that you're representing both parties. So either one of them are fine to use. If you do find yourself using the single agent, which one we went over last, and then you do find a buyer for that seller, you don't have to do a whole nother transaction broker. You can just do the amendment, which we talked about, on Sunday night for a little while. You can use an amendment to change it to you're representing both parties on the transaction. All right, we move this out the way. We'll get to what I want to talk about today. Ah, come on. Come on, thing. Come on. There we go. So we are done with that. Once again, if you have any questions, do not do anything that you're unsure of. Put it in the chat, get with your mentor, or call me to make sure that you're filling out the right one if you're trying to fill it out yourself. There are no dumb questions. Ask. I'd rather you be safe than sorry for filling out the right one. So today we're going to talk about the seller's property disclosure. All right, that goes along with a listing agreement. All right. Matter of fact, this really should be filled out. I try to get this filled out prior to me even signing the listing agreement if possible. But they should go hand in hand. This way, if you're ever going to list it in the MLS yourself, if you're not doing this or you're doing it without Danielle, you really can't accurately put this in the MLS until you have this listing agreement filled out. I mean, this property disclosure. So the property disclosure is informed simplicity. There are some informed simplicity, and but you can get this one out of your paperless pipeline, okay? Go in the reference section for all you new people, and even the old ones that don't really look at it too much. It is definitely, what I did. Hell. Some type of way I done got a pen on here. God. What did I do? Well, Shonda, what did I do? Shonda Wright.
You know what? Is that you or is that somebody else? Because we
That's
also have
me.
the ability to it looked like somebody else's. Well,
That's
I
me.
don't, that is you. Okay. Well, let's see.
Yeah.
Now
I
there
don't
is
know.
a little edit. You may see a little pen, like a little pencil somewhere that you could click on your Zoom. And
Should
if
be
you
down
click,
at the bottom.
yeah.
Just annotate. Let me see if that's it. I think that was it.
And now you may be able to find an eraser as well uh to get rid of it.
I do not know
And let
how.
me see if I can do it for you. No, if I had access, I could.
If you go down at the bottom and you hit that pen, you have under the pencil or pen, whatever, there's an eraser. You can click on it and erase it.
Can't you see where I had annotate? Can y'all see that? I don't see where, let me see something. Oh, why did I do that? Okay, let me see if I can do it this way. If I can get around it.
And then yours might be at the because see on our screen it's at the bottom, but yours might be at the top as well.
Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can do it this way. So if I let me see if I can cover it up by just clicking the seller's disclosure. So if you're in paperless pipeline, once again, most of our contracts and stuff are in paperless pipeline. You'll go to the listing forms, and the seller's disclosure property disclosure is in here. Ooh, I don't like this. Okay. What I'm going, well, I'm recording it because I don't see the eraser that y'all talking about.
You
And
could probably stop sharing and then reshare. Maybe that may
yeah,
help to
that's
get
what I
rid of
was.
it.
Let me see. Now that's smart. That's probably what it. Bam. You are so smart. Thank you. Now I don't see where to open. Can y'all see the seller's disclosure? I ain't playing with this thing tonight.
Yes, I can. Well, I was seeing it.
Yeah, I think now I got it. Full screen. This is weird. Now I don't even see where I can open it up wide. Mm-mm-mm. Can y'all see it like this? Seller's property disclosure up here?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. Everybody can see it. All right, I see people waving their hand. Okay. So this is seller's property disclosure, y'all. This is something, what I want to explain about this is that this is something you should have the seller fill out prior to you listing the property. All right, once again, this should not be in the MLS. You should not be entering anything in the MLS about this property until you find out what the seller is saying about this property. Not just out their mouth, but on this paper right here. All right, so if you've never seen this before, this is asking the seller everything about the property that they know about. Now, a seller may not know everything on this questionnaire, but anything that they don't know on the questionnaire, you just want to tell them to put NA. All right. One important fact about filling out the seller's property disclosure is that you cannot fill it out. All right. I want you to get that in your head. I don't care how old they are. All right. In order to sell a home, your seller has to be competent. All right. They need to know. If they don't know, then they should have give me the word, y'all. What you call a replacement person?
Power attorney.
Power of attorney. Thank you so much. A POA. All right. They should have a power of attorney to help fill this out. I don't care, once again, if they cannot read, if they cannot write, good. You cannot fill this out. All right. One thing that I tell people, if you have a listing, okay, you'll have a lot of people, a lot of agents, a lot of buyers call you out the blue, investors or whatever. And what they will do, they will say, Valerie, tell me a little bit about the property. No, 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 no. You are not in charge of doing that. You're not, you could be held liable. You can't say this is a beautiful property. You cannot say the foundation is good. You cannot say that the roof is in good condition. You cannot say any of that. Anytime somebody calls me and asks me about the property, I tell them specifically, I have never stayed at the property. So I cannot disclose to you exactly how the property is. But I do have a seller's disclosure that I can have you read, or that I can send to you, or that is already, really, it should already be in the MLS, that I can give to you that you can look over about the property. Because you never want somebody to come in and say, this realtor told me this property was good. They told me the AC was good. They told me. All right, that's going to get you sued, fined, reported, or whatever it may be. So I always tell people, I have potential buyers, realtors, whoever it is, that's not my house. I've never stayed in it. I'm representing them. There's nothing I can share with you about it. I can share this seller's property disclosure to you, which probably can answer some of your questions, but you also need to do your own due diligence on the property. All right, because guess what? Sellers make mistakes too. Sellers don't know. Sometimes sellers will lie. All right. And if a lawsuit was to ever come about this, then what's going to happen is it will be on the seller, because guess what? This is a 7-page document. The last page is the buyers are supposed to sign it, as well as the sellers, saying that they acknowledge, the sellers are saying, and we'll get to that part real quick. But let me make up these few minutes that I lost playing around with this computer. But once again, the seller's property disclosure. Once again, these are all documents that are put in place by NEFA lawyers. We did not create these documents. This is a template that we fill out, and every question on these documents may not pertain to your specific buyer or seller. So this is notice to seller, all right? Once again, it is very important. I'm gonna say it like I said it Sunday night. You do not have any buyer or any seller sign any document that you don't understand or that you haven't went over it with them. All right? You make sure whatever document that you give them, realtors need to read. All right? Read the document, be able to explain the most important parts of the document to your specific buyer or seller. Once again, the buyer has to sign this also, okay? So even if you're on the buyer's end, all right, you should ask for a seller's disclosure. See if they got a seller's disclosure before you put your offer in. Because guess what? You shopping around with a FHA buyer, all right? And I've did this before, all right? Once again, we can get so caught up in that money that we don't do some of the little things, all right? You got a FHA buyer, all right? You never did ask for the seller's disclosure, or you just had them sign it because you didn't go over it with them, all right? They honestly put on the seller's disclosure that the roof is 20 years old, all right? You done put in a full price offer. You done been through this whole process with the FHA. You done had your buyer, pay for a home inspection on it, or maybe even appraisal, maybe even both. And guess what? It can't even get financed FHA because the roof is too old on the property. You're just finding out from the home inspector or the appraiser that it's a 20-year roof on this property. The listing agent don't know the FHA rules, because guess what? They not coming to trainings. They not coming to trainings. You don't never see them to trainings in their brokerage or whatever, this brokerage or whatever it is. They don't even know, and they done listed the property for FHA and VA, and FHA and VA ain't going for no 20-year-old roof. They not. So now who fault is that when the deal don't get done? All right. So now you just had your buyer waste their money on a roof. I mean, on an inspection. Guess what I had to do? I had to eat it because that was my fault. That was my fault. I never did go over the seller's disclosure with them or look over it to see what was put in there. And it was clearly written how old it was. So that next home inspection, if they were to stick with me, was gonna be on me. All right. So it says in Florida, this is a Florida contract. The seller of residential property is obligated to disclose to a buyer. This is the seller. They are obligated to disclose to a buyer all facts known to the seller that materially and adversely affect the value of the property being sold, which are not readily observable by the buyer. All right, everything ain't observable by the buyer. And once again, this going over, looking at this can save your buyers money. It can save you time as well. All right. So I know a good realtor from a bad one when I'm working with them, because a lot of the good realtors going to ask me for this first. A lot of times, some of the realtors ask for it before they even drive and show the property. So you have realtors just that diligent, be like, hey, do you have a seller's disclosure in it, on it or whatever, just so they know I'm not going way out there and this house is tore up from the floor up. It got things in it. So it's only 7 pages. It doesn't take long to read at all. This disclosure is designed to assist the seller in complying with the disclosure requirements under Florida law and to assist the buyer in evaluating the property described below the property. All parties, including the listing, real estate brokers, and cooperating brokers, may wish to refer to this information when they evaluate, market, or present the property to prospective buyers. All right. And then this says, notice the buyer. This disclosure is not a warranty by a seller or a representation of any kind by any realtors to the transaction and is not considered a substitute for inspections or warranties a buyer may wish to obtain. This disclosure is based solely only upon seller's knowledge of the property's condition as of the date signed by the seller. All right. So that's very important too. All right. Because you want to look at the date. Because guess what? This house could have been on the market 8 months ago. They filled this out 8 months ago. All right. Some things may have happened within those 8 months that wasn't on here 8 months ago. All right. So a good listing agent is going to update this or at least ask their seller if they have it on the market that long, you know, every 4, 5 months, 3, 4, 5 months. Is there anything on this seller's disclosure we need to update? Because guess what? We could have had a hurricane in between those 8 months. You know, we could have had a leak. We could have had a flood. Something could have happened in order to have this updated to where we're not giving the buyer accurate information before they present an offer. All right. And this also helps, once again, when you're with your seller, letting them know that, hey, depending on the condition of this home, all right, you may get a full price offer, but from what you got written here, you know, it may not be a reasonable offer. They're probably going to counter once they see what's all wrong with this property. So you want to let them know to be be honest, all right? When they're filling this out, I can't fill this out. As a real estate agent, I want to help you out as much as possible, but I can't fill it out. All right. Some of your elderly people, they're going to look at this 7-page list and they're going to think, man, I don't even want to sell if I got to fill all this out. All right. Once again, they can get them a POA to help fill this out, but they have to answer these questions, not you. All right. You want to have the seller's name. Once again, spelling is very important on all this stuff. All right. Street address, city, year built. The property was year built. Are they U.S. citizens or resident aliens? Yes or no boxes is most of these. Do you currently occupy the property? That's very important too. If not, when did you vacate the property? They should put that. Is the property tenant occupied? If yes, is there a written lease on it? So it's asking all these questions. Deposit amounts. What date does the lease end? If they do got somebody in there that's leasing the property, that's very important because once again, sellers think because it's their home, they can just kick somebody out. That's not true. All right. They think they can just sell when they want. They can sell. They can sell when they want to sell, but per that lease, that person can stay in there till that lease is up. All right. So we need to know all this. When we're closing the deal, did the person that give you a lease, did they put a $5,000 deposit in there? And if you're selling that home, you know, where's the deposit money to give back to that person if they're leaving it? So you got to do your due diligence and make sure they fill out all this. Monthly payment due up under lease. All that needs to be on the seller's disclosure. Property information. This got the dishwasher, disposal, washer and dryer, microwave oven, refrigerator. It's asking the brand names and stuff like that. So they should put that. All right. And then once again, you need to find out is it staying? Is it staying with the property? And you need to make sure you put that in the listing agreement that dishwasher is going with me. I've had people take their dishwasher. I've had people take their microwave. I've had people take their refrigerator. All right, washer and dryer, brand new. They taking it with them. They spent $4,000 on that washer and dryer. No, they're not leaving it with the property, but that buyer may think they are. So you have to ask these questions, y'all, when you're selling somebody's home. Fireplace. They may take the fireplace. Well, it don't matter. What you see in there, don't just assume that they're gonna take that stuff, that stuff is just gonna stay there. All right, drapery hardware, bathroom mirrors, everything, light fixtures. That's very important. People will take all their light fixtures with them. Ceiling fans. All right, they're gonna put the originals back up and take their stuff. There's a storage shed in the back. The buyer think that they're gonna get a storage shed. That may not be true, y'all. The television wall mounts, they may not be staying. You have to ask all these questions. All right, I'm trying to save you from a lot of drama. Just making sure you take the time. These are not just quick sign and get your money in 30-day deals. These are things, the more deals you do, these are things you will eventually run into. All right. Some of these deals would be very easy. All right. But just don't get too comfortable and get too complacent to where you don't think you will run into one of these things throughout your deal. Because I'm telling you, once again, the more deals you close, it's going to happen. Claims and assessments. Number 2, are you aware of any existing, pending, or proposed legal administrative action affecting you and the property? You got to find out, is they getting sued? Have them fill it out. Read over it after they fill it out, and then you will be surprised. You'll have to go back and say, oh, somebody's suing y'all for something? Oh yeah, but this person, this bootleg roofer did the roof a couple of years ago, and he ain't do this and do that, and I ain't pay the money or whatever. So yeah, it's pending a lawsuit and stuff like that. Well, that's important for me to know when I'm selling this property, what is going on. So you got to look over this. Don't just have them fill it out and you don't look over it yourself, because a lot of questions can arise after they have filled this out. All right. Are you aware of any existing or proposed municipal or county special assessments on the property? You don't know these questions. They may not know neither, to be honest, but so they may put no. All right. Who fault is that? Once they do the investigation, they're finding out who telling the truth. Once again, they may think they can get by with it. They don't know the gist of selling a home. They don't know all the hands that are in it. They don't know all the questions that will be asked by lenders. They don't know all the research that will be done by title people. They don't know all this stuff. And sometimes they think they're going to get past it. So when it comes down to it and we're about to close and they say you got all these liens on the property and you're being sued by such and such and they looking crazy, and you go back to the seller's disclosure and say, well, shoot, you said no. You answer these questions as no. All right. So number 3, deed homeowners condominium association. You may be selling a condominium. Are there any deed homeowners or condominium restrictions? They need to let you know. Are there any mandatory homeowners or condominium associations? Letting them know if there's an association. There may be more than one. There are some subdivisions that have more than one homeowners association. All right. Took me a lot of deals to find that out. That sometimes there are more than one. They need to give you the name. They need to give you the address. They need to give you the phone number. Homeowner association and fees, how much is it? Are they behind on those fees? All right. It's a trip that a homeowners association can stop a person from selling a home because simply because they didn't fix something on the property. I mean, the trees they asked them to cut. I had a deal probably last year or the year before where they had been asked the people to say they needed to paint their house. I was selling a house in Oakleaf. they refused to paint it, thought selling it was going to get rid of the situation. And they weren't going to have to worry about it. They could not sell their home until that house was painted. So these homeowners association got a lot of power. They have a lot of power to stop a sale from happening. So I've had people that haven't paid in years. You know, the homeowners association, they could not sell until that stuff. I had one lady, she was over there off Dunn's. I think she owed over $6,000 to the homeowners association. We thought we was at the closing table. And no, this lady didn't have no money to pay them. She couldn't pay them out the sale of the home. So what we had to do, we had to find a private, it was a private lender, but it was a person. I still got that guy's name in that, but what he does is he funds it with his own money. He does stuff like that with his own money, and then after the closing, he gets a fee for it. And it was a couple of $1,000s. I believe it was about $3,000 or $4,000 she had to pay him to bail her out or whatever. So she had lost money because that was the only way. She didn't have no family that can lend her the money or nothing. And she was going to get money at closing. She was going to get like over $100,000, you know, at closing, but she could not use the sale. And that was strange to me. I don't know if the rules have changed since then, because it did seem to me like they could have put it in escrow out of the funds she was going to get back, but they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it at the time. All right, homeowners association fees, assessment. They have to answer all this. Condo association fees. They may not be in a condo, so that's an NA. So you always letting them know if this stuff is not for you in your situation, just put NA beside it. All right. Are any of your association fees delinquent? That's a question that we just talked about. Either it's yes or no. Some people don't know. Some people don't know or act like they don't know. All right. They feel like it will automatically being taken out their account throughout the years. They ain't never got a letter, etc. So are you aware of any proposed changes to any of the restrictions? Are there any resale restrictions? Some people will call you and ask you, can Airbnbs be in that neighborhood? All right, that's where all these questions are at. Are there any restrictions to leasing the property? You know, you may have an investor that's trying to buy it. Sometimes these HOAs don't even allow you to lease their property in the subdivision. So that's something you should know when you're selling this property. All right. Is the property part of community development district, CDD? All right. Knowing the difference between a CDD and a HOA is important. All right. So CDDs, the community development, as far as pools and different things like that. Environment. Was the property built before 1978? All right, that's a real estate question. Yes or no? All right. If yes, complete the lead-based paint disclosure. If you had a property built before 1978 that you're selling, you got to make sure that they fill out the lead-based paint disclosure. All right. These are just basic questions throughout this. Are there or have there been any substances, materials, or product which may be an environmental hazard? All right. Basically, they were building stuff that were bad before 1978. And they want to know those questions on those. All right. Roads and land use. Are access road public or private? If private, is there recorded road maintenance? You may run into a home with that. Once again, have them fill all this out. And sometimes it may not be right, but you got to stress the importance of, you know, them knowing their stuff in their house. And then if something do come of it, you just got to deal with it at the time. Additions, remodeling, insurance claims. This is an important section. Has there been any structural damage or damage to personal property which may have resulted from casualties, including but not limited to fire, wind, water, flood, hail, or sinkholes? That's very important. All right. That, I had one to where a fire had been caught in the kitchen. They had remodeled the kitchen. I'm thinking that they remodeled it simply because they were remodeling the home. But it was a fire behind that kitchen remodel that needed to be shared with the buyers or whatever. So that question is asked for a reason. Are you aware of any insurance claims that were filed? You have all type of people at your doors. If you're a homeowner right now, they're asking, coming around for roofs and different things like that. Just getting the insurance companies anywhere they can. Right now, they they come around to our house about stucco issues, saying that there's a lawsuit in the community about stucco issues or whatever. So if I decide to go with that claim, then when I sell that house, I would have to put that there. Have you made any additional structural changes or alterations to the property? This is important because guess what? Bubba down the street built you a back porch, but Bubba didn't Bubba didn't do no permit or nothing on the property. He just built you a nice porch on the property, screened in, AC, everything. All right. That seller walking you around that house, showing you how beautiful this home is and how they did this addition and all this to the home, and they've added this, and this has added another 500 square foot to the home and stuff like that. Come to find out, Bubba once again did not go get a permit on this home. When you're trying to sell the home, you're not going to be able to sell that home until that thing get permitted. And guess what? If it can't get permitted because they used the wrong material, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, either that thing gonna have to be tore down or it's gonna have to be fixed prior to it. So isn't that something you should know before you listed this property and put money into photos and all kind of stuff like that? And then finding out at the end of your hard work journey that because you didn't take the time to go over this or look in this and stuff like that, that they ain't get it permitted. And it mostly happens with a lot of roofers. There's so many bootleg roofers out here. They put on them roofs without doing permit. If your roofer want to do your roof over the weekend, you better make sure. You better make sure that roof is permitted. They getting it permitted. Because a lot, what'd you say, Brian? You were about to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say one sign that you always know if they are permitted, they supposed to get a notice of commencement before they start work. So that's something that they would have you to fill out is a notice of commencement because they have to file that downtown when they get ready to do the permit. So that's one way that you can probably know if they pulling a permit too as
That's good.
well.
I appreciate you adding that. All right. So Brian does a lot with permitting and flipping and wholesaling and different. So if y'all ever have any questions about that, Brian is the man to go to. Violations, any violations, were there any structural changes or alterations made by the property by previous owner? Please provide the name of any contractor or individual who constructed any addition or made so they want all those questions answered. Roof related. This is what I talked about. What is the approximate age of the roof? This is very important to know what you can list the property as. All right. You may only be able to do it for cash and you may be only able to do it conventional. because of the age of the roof. And then you need to let that seller know that, hey, I'm not going to be able to do this FHA unless you're going to redo this roof. Because I believe we're going to run into a problem because the roof is so old. All right. If yes, has the roof or roofing system leaked during your ownership of the property? They need to tell you that. If yes, what was done to correct the leaks? Pool or spa, does the property have any of the following? Does it have hot tubs, etc. on there? What is the approximate age of the roof? So it's asking you all these questions, heating and air. I see all this is very important and it's part of your 4-point inspection when you're trying to get insurance. So you can solve a lot of your headaches and problems and a lot of the buyer who you're trying to attack problems if you have all these answers. All right. Air conditioning, what's the age of it? Heating, what's the age of it? Do you have central heat, electric heat? Heat pump, air conditioner age, window wall unit. Do you have any fuel storage tanks? All right. Water intrusion. Are you aware of any past or present water intrusion, accumulation of water? So they need to tell you that, yes or no. Believe me, once again, some sellers will not be, if you don't see it, if you can't see it with your eyes, they may not tell you the truth on it. All right. And that is why you don't fill this out. Because once that new buyer come in and they find out years later or a year later or 6 months later that, man, this whole thing was flooded. Let me see that seller's disclosure, that realtor. All right. Wonder if they put yes and then you missed it in the MLS. You didn't put, they put it on the seller's disclosure, but it's wrong in the MLS. When you put, this is why I'm saying, if you're doing it, you need to make sure you're doing it correctly and putting in the right stuff. Because the seller could be like, no, I put that we had some water damage. And then it's going to be like, oh, shoot, I missed it as the realtor. I checked no, or I didn't catch it when I read over it. So this stuff is important, y'all. Insurance claims, sinkhole settlements and soil movement, windows, door locks. Are the windows insulated? So it's asking you all these questions. 7 pages, y'all. Take the time to read it. Public water. All right. Plumbing. Have you updated any portion of the plumbing system? Yes or no? So it asks you all the plumbing questions in this section. Is it a sewer or septic? All right. I had one where I missed a whole septic tank. I was used to the septic tank showing in the backyard. This thing was flat. And sure enough, they did not find out. I didn't have it. I forgot how I was the thing that saved me was it was on the seller's disclosure. But I can tell you now that that buyer was hot because they said they was an investor. They wouldn't have bought the house if they would have known it was a septic tank on there. And they actually missed it. They actually missed it. But we had it on the seller's disclosure that it was right. But I didn't even know, to be honest with you. I didn't even realize when I listed the property that it had a septic tank. So I was shocked. The actual investor buyer called me pissed off. And I was working with Samantha as the title person. And sure enough, Samantha said, no, you're good, Will. Say it's on the seller's disclosure that it was one on there. And I was like, man, I didn't even know. So those are the mistakes of a busy realtor because I was very busy. And I know how some of y'all think. And so I understand that sometimes we just be so focused on pleasing the customer and making sure that everything we get to the closing table with them that sometimes we will miss stuff. But hopefully it's just not bad. Electrical. Have you updated any portion of the electrical system? All right, they ask you that. Be honest. Tell them to be honest. Exclude wood destroying organism. They're going to do a WDO. inspection. All right. Most buyers are. Most lenders require it. Insurance require it. Are you aware of any past or present infestation, or damage to the property caused by any wood destroying organism? They should tell you yes or no. Flood zone, drainage boundaries. Is any portion of the property in a special flood hazard area? I mean, that seller know it flood over there when it rains. They may put no. Sometimes you got to look up them flood zones yourself to make sure that's not a flood zone area. All right. So the great realtors go that extra mile just to make sure. Other matters. Does anyone, including any owners association, have a right of first refusal or option to buy the property? All right, so they ask those type questions in that. Are you aware of any existing or threatened legal action affecting you or your property? Some people are selling because they're getting sued by something. You know, they may put no, but y'all make sure, put water provider, garbage provider, gas, who does the gas, electric. And like I said, when you first give this 7 pages, when you first give this to a seller, you got to let them know, hey, it looks long, but they are easy yes and no questions. What you don't know, put in have them sign it, have them date it. When you have a buyer, your buyer is supposed to acknowledge it as well as date it so that they can say they can't blame nothing. These are the answers that the seller gave me. Do anybody got any comments or questions? This is the seller's property disclosure, or it's called the SPD. Anybody have any comments or questions about the seller's disclosure?
Hey, Pastor, this is Dee Dee. I
Hey,
just
Didi,
want to say I appreciate these trainings. They're good. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we gonna be the best at these contracts, y'all. We gonna stay on them. Y'all gonna know. So, all right. Anybody else got any questions? All right. Who I'm gonna get to pray tonight? Let me see who gonna pray for all week. Come on, Sharice. Give us a little prayer.
Our dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for continuing to give us a chance to praise your holy name. Lord,
Yes,
bless
Lord.
every last one of us from the crown of our head to us, to the soles of our feet. Lord,
Yeah.
watch over us as we get through this week, Lord. Continue to keep us motivated. Um, just just watch over us that we come into contact with someone that's ready to buy, sell, or invest, Lord. I just want to continue to thank you for all your many blessings. Thank you for the things that you've done, doing, and getting ready to do in our lives. These and all of the blessings we continue to ask in your son, Jesus' name. Pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sharice. All right, Valerie and Miss Ethelyn, I'm coming at you 1 week, so be prepared. We want to hear the heart of all our realtors. And once again, this is not about competition and prayer. Your short prayer could be the best prayer that's going to bless our week. So, all right, y'all have a blessed day. I'm here if y'all need me. Blessed week. I'm here if y'all need me, and I'll see y'all Sunday night, Lord's will.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.